Hi guys, before we get into the video, I want to let you guys know that August 10th is the date to save if you're a cycling fan, because the Cascade Cycling Classic is back for one day and one day only in downtown Bend. We have the criterium coming back and we have all the categories going on. We've got the pro races, the women races going on, and we got all of the kids racing for free. So I'd like you guys to be able to go over to the Horner Cycling webpage and then click on the Cascade Cycling Classic, because we're looking for some sponsors for the individual races, and we're looking for some donations to help foot the bill here for the Cascade Cycling Classic's first return to Bend, Oregon, the criterium, in over 7 years' time. So if you guys are interested in cycling or just interested in being part of the fun, make sure you guys come down and save the date for August 10th for the Cascade Cycling Classic's big return to downtown Bend, Oregon. Now I'll let you guys go as the video is getting ready to start. Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is Tour of Romandie Day 1, but it's the prologue, so it's not stage 1. Today's race, 2.3 kilometers, twisty, technical, narrow roads, all kinds of action. A couple little bumps at the finish near the church. It's going to be on cobblestones. Then you come out with 150 meters to go as it's tight, but uphill all the way to the finish. Uphill's maybe a stretch, but it's definitely going to be hard if you're coming out at the finish and you've been going full gas for already 2.15 kilometers, and then you come out of that left with 150 meters to go. You know the legs are going to be hurting because it's uphill to the finish. Now, the biggest thing here about Romandie is the pressure is going to be coming off of the teams, the directors sportifs, after the last and final spring classic. Liège-Bastogne-Liège just happened on yesterday's Sunday race. Every time I did Liège-Bastogne-Liège, I showed up here at Romandie, still had good form, and I got the 2 leaders jerseys here to prove it. I went top 10 at Liège-Bastogne-Liège, then came over here to Romandie, but I can tell you, as soon as you arrive at the hotel, it's a relaxed atmosphere compared to everything you had in the build-up coming from the Basque Country, the Spring Classics up in Belgium for the other riders, and of course finishing off with Liège-Bastogne-Liège. It's a calm feeling at the hotel for sure, but make no mistake about it, when we look at the list here at Tour of Romandie, there's 5 past Grand Tour winners. Egan Bernal is here, and he's won the Tour de France and the Giro. Carapaz is here. He's won the Giro. Jai Hindley has gone fantastic and won the Giro. We're talking about Teo Gegenhardt, Giro winner. And then we got a Tour of Spain winner here, Simon Yates. 5 riders, 6 Grand Tour wins between them. So you know there's some depth here at Tour of Romandie. And I can tell you for sure, once they start getting into the racing, everything that calmness that they felt in the hotel will start becoming aggressive again in the races. But when you get back to the hotel, it's still calm again because you're at Romandie. You're no longer at the classics, and you're no longer at the Basque Country getting ready for that classic week if you're a GC rider of Amstel, Flèche, and Liège. So it's a nice place to race. Sometimes the weather can be good. Most of the time it's not. Today it's cold and it looks like the weather could bring on some rain. So when the racing starts, we're going to see Michael Ziegler. He's already in the hot seat for two-door cycling. Now I'm watching on Flow, but we got Carlton Kirby calling the race. He's doing it on his own. Carlton Kirby's got a lot of work set up for him here today to cover when you're doing the whole race yourself. But he knows, just like everyone sitting on the Chesterfield, that Michael Ziegler's time might not stand, but maybe if the weather turns bad, well, Michael Ziegler at 2 minutes and 55 seconds for 2.3 kilometers, it might stand. The cameras will go back and show us a little bit of Michael Ziegler leaving the ramp and him coming out of the last corner and powering all the way to the finish for two-door cycling to put himself in the hot seat. But we got talent behind. I already told you guys, there's 5 Grand Tour winners here. But those 5 Grand Tour winners, they're a little smaller guys like I was in terms of GC, so they don't have that massive amount of power to punch it out of these almost 15 turns and U-turns and technical sections. So it's usually going to be a bigger guy. Now, when I went here and raced back in the day, they always started with a prologue when I did it too, and it was always technical, but a little bit longer. So it had a little more benefit to me versus a 2.3 kilometer course that could bring in rain later. But Carlton Kirby's course lets us know that there's some excitement still to come. Now, I want to show you Jan Christian from UAE Team Members because he's going to describe the course for you guys so you understand what all the racers are going to be in tune for. Now, you see Jan Christian after he leaves the ramp. He's coming into the first real technical stuff. It's the bushes turn with the hard left. He's going in almost rubbing the bushes. He's coming out. He starts to sprint again, goes into the next hard turn that kind of opens up to the left and goes hard to the right. And you see him basically just getting right up next to the fencing there. Later, we'll see him going through the next right turn where his shoulder's hanging over the sidewalk there, so you know he's going full gas here for UAE team members. When he gets near the finish of the course, when he's going up the first bump on the cobbles, look how he's coming by the church corner building here, the stone church here, how close he is. This guy is hanging it all out, and this is what you got to do if you want to win the Prologue, because it's 2.3 kilometers like I told you. As he leaves the church, he pops down the descent. He's going to hang it out through the next 2 left turns. In the final left, same thing. He's brushing the fences there as close as he could possibly be. Comes up to 150 kilometers at the last left turn, fully sprinting, throws his bike. He's 4 seconds off of the time of Ziegler. Now, as he comes through, that'll put himself into 3rd position right now, so he's got a solid time. But when you're watching the rest of the riders go, if they don't look as beautiful as Ziegler right here, you know they don't have a chance of winning the Prologue here at Tour of Romandie. We'll start seeing some other guys going off the ramp like Egan Bernal and Carapaz. Both these guys, they're GC guys. Like I said, they've already won Grand Tour, so they're taking it easy through the corners, and they're going to finish with about 13 seconds and 14 seconds down on the time of Michael Ziegler. I'm okay with this because they're GC guys. A little bit faster might be good to see, but right now at the moment, they looked okay, and you can make up this kind of time because the fastest guy so far in front of them, well, it's Michael Ziegler at 14 seconds, but he's not a GC guy, so it's okay. Now we start going further down. What's happening? Well, Julian Alaphilippe's getting ready to leave the ramp for Pseudo Quickstep. As this Quickstep rider's leaving the ramp, we're going to get helicopter views, so we don't get a super clear idea of how Julian Alaphilippe's going through the corners, but I think it's good enough to know that the Frenchman is going fast and flying through the corners. This is what he does. I can't tell you what his form's really like at the end of this 2.3 kilometers because Julian Alaphilippe's always been good in the first half of the races. It's the second half of the races since he's been crashing 2 years ago at LBL that we worry about. But right now, as he's coming out of the last 150 meters, he's hanging it out, he's risking it all, and he's powering all the way to the line to put himself 2 seconds back from Michael Ziegler's time. Now, we start seeing the general classification. You start thinking, wow, Julian Alaphilippe might be on form. Guys, he might be on form, but Julian Alaphilippe does not have a problem with handling his bike. He has a problem with crashing, but they're not always his fault. The Frenchman, he's had some bad luck, and most of the time when I've seen him crash, it doesn't look like he caused the crash or he was at fault for it, but he does handle his bike very good. So this course was ideal for the Frenchman, but he's got to have some kind of form because he's sitting 2nd place right now. Now, we're going to start seeing Robert Hessing leaving the ramp, and once we do, the raindrops start getting on the camera. You need to start worrying right now because it looks like anyone leaving after Robert Hessing's going to have a problem right here on this Prologue stage because if it gets wet and nasty out, there's no way you can hang out the corners like we saw from Jan Christian going through from UAE Team Emirates. So, as Carlton Kirby's saying, it looks like we see Michael Ziegler, he's going to win today's Prologue. But wait a minute, just a second, because we still got some hot times coming through as we see Ivo Oliveira from UAE Team Emirates. He flies through the 150 meters to go, the left turn, and he's on his TT bike. As he comes up to the finish, he drops back into the bullhorns there, comes across the line, throws his bike for a solid time, 3 seconds back on Michael Ziegler to put himself 4th on the stage. So you start getting a little excited, like maybe it's not over. Well, Robert Hessing comes through, not a fantastic time, but he's about 10-15 seconds down on the stage, but he's riding for stage wins anyways, not GC. We start looking at the other riders. Milan Minton, I want to point this out from Lotto Destiny because he was hanging the bike out there. When the cameras come on, he's all the way to the right. Then you see him dive into the left. He's skimming the fences left and right. He'll come through about 5 seconds off of the time of Ziegler. Now we'll see Simon Yates start from the ramp. When he gets up on the ramp, Carlton Kirby from Flow, he's talking about how, well, he kind of looks a little bit like Hugh Grant. I thought he looked a little bit like Adam Yates because they're twin brothers, but Carlton Kirby's got his own opinion on it. As Simon Yates leaves the ramp, he's going full gas, but taking things safe. Now, he's not going to end up with an excellent time, but we're going to see with 150 meters to go, Cameron Scott comes flying out of the left turn, sprinting all the way up to the finish line to come in 0.9 of a second to put himself in 2nd place behind Ziegler's time, Michael Ziegler of Two Door Cycling. This was a surprise to me from Cameron Scott, but he looked fantastic coming out of the corner, sprinting all the way to the finish. Later, they'll show him leaving the ramp when the race is over, but with a time of 0.9 seconds behind, there's still hope. Maybe there's somebody else because Brandon McNulty in the Stars and Stripes U.S. individual time trial champion, he rolls down the ramp, he slides through the corners. Everything looks about safe from what I can tell from the Chesterfield, so I don't think he's going to win today's stage. As he crosses the line 11 seconds seconds back, you know he took some precautions out on the course today because he's about 80th at the end of the day. Now, when I look at all the general classification favorites, Julian Alaphilippe might be the best of them, but you guys are saying he's not a GC guy. And I don't know if he's a GC guy. He was a GC guy back in 2019 when he was wearing the race leader's yellow jersey at the Tour de France. So does he have that kind of form? Well, we haven't seen it this year. But he's had some incidents. He's had broken leg or fractured legs. It's been a problem season, last 2 seasons for Julian Alaphilippe. So if everything is starting to get fixed with the Frenchman, he's starting to get back in the flow, maybe he's got some fantastic form. It wasn't that long ago that Julian Alaphilippe could have been leading the Tour of Swiss before he dropped out on the last stage for his baby. So that all happened before LBL crashed 2 years ago. So the Frenchman has it in his legs to be able to win Tour of Romandie, but we just don't know if that form's back. So when we start looking a little bit further back on the general classification, we got to go to Enric Mas, Movistar, 5 seconds back on the stage. This was a solid time and one we definitely have to pay attention to because Movistar needs some results for certain. And Enric Mas, if you want to look at the solid GC riders that have been performing most recently, Enric Mas at 5 seconds, he's the top on the GC right now after the Prologue day 1 here at Tour of Romandie. It's going to be an interesting battle for sure. Tomorrow's race, a little lumpy and bumpy, but the big climbs don't start until stage 2, day 3. It's going to be confusing like that here at Tour of Romandie all the time. But for sure, once we get into stage 2, it's going to be a GC fest here because we don't have Tadej Pogacar, we don't have Jonas Vingegaard, Primoz Roglic isn't here, and Remco Evenepoel's not here. But we do have 5 riders that have won Grand Tours, and out of those 5 riders, they all have some pretty solid results, with the exception of Theo Gegenhardt, who said at the Basque Country when he was working in support there of Skilbos that had the race leader's yellow jersey on stage 6, he said himself he's not happy with where his form is because he should be the race leader on the team instead of working for other guys. Well, here at Tour of Romandie, Theo Gegenhardt has his options of being the race leader here, and he's the one guy out of the 5 riders that have won Grand Tours throughout their career here starting Tour of Romandie that's a little bit off on his form. Egan Bernal at LBL said after the finish that he's got some of the best form of his life, better than he thinks before the crash that he had in Colombia a couple seasons back. So Egan Bernal could be a rider to win here for sure. Simon Yates has already had results and have won this season. We look at Jai Hindley, he went 3rd at Trino Adriatico where Jonas Vingegaard won, so he's gone good, of course. And Carapaz is wearing the national championship jersey, so he's got to be a little bit happy. And let me remind you, just yesterday on Sunday at LBL, it was only Richard Carapaz that could follow Tadej Pogacar's attack on La Redoute for any length of time up until about 450 meters ago when he got popped. But like I said, out of those 5 riders, Theo Gegenhardt is the one rider that doesn't have wins and doesn't have any big podium GC results here in 2024. So it's going to be up to Theo Gegenhardt here for Little Trek to start getting some results here at Tour of Romandie because the first part of the season is pretty much rounding up and finished here after Tour of Romandie. For most guys that finish at LBL. But once you got some form at LBL, you're going to carry it over to Romandie, so you might as well go ahead and take the race leader's jersey if you can. That's what I did way back in the day in 2006 and 7. We saw with Two-Door Cycling's Michael Ziegler. While he won today's race, he had a little bit of help, but he still took the win, and he's still wearing the race leader's yellow jersey here for Two-Door Cycling while they're racing in Switzerland. So big-time victory here, and big-time shout-out to Michael Ziegler for a nice win prologue stage here at Tour of Romandie for Two-Door Cycling. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Stage 1, Stage 2, the GC guys are going to start coming to work, especially on Stage 2 when we get into the Mountain Summit finishes here at Tour of Romandie. It's going to be exciting. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys for Stages 1 and 2 of the Butterfly Effect coming real soon.